Hi everyone, we're here today to talk about the EARL conference. The EARL conference is the annual highlight of the EARL calendar in London, and in fact across many places in the globe now, including a lot of places out in America. EARL has obviously gone virtual over the past couple of years because of COVID and because of video meetings and not being able to meet up face to face. And we were lucky enough as Datacove, myself and Deeksha, to attend this year's EARL conference virtually and listen to some of the fantastic talks and use cases of R in the real world. And we're going to talk a little bit more about them today. I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to talk about this one, talk about the NHS. It's probably the presentation that most people attending the conference can quite easily relate to, particularly with the past 18 months or so of COVID going on and the restrictions. And I've known the NHSR community for a while now. I've known them since they were very, very small a few years ago. And one of the things that Chris was talking about is how that's grown over time, and particularly how it's grown over COVID. So they went from having this kind of one-day conference to a couple of days, and then they did this 5-day online NHSR conference, again, different because of COVID, but it really shows the growth of that community over time and what they're doing to help the NHS as well, particularly taking data out of spreadsheets, trying to be a bit smarter with the way they use it. We were very fortunate to have Chris come and talk to us at Brighton R earlier on this year as well. And again, talking about some of his experiences, particularly recently, how the NHS community the NHSR community has grown. I was perhaps a little bit naughty during the conference. I asked him kind of the holy grail of questions as to kind of what challenges he sees the R community being able to help the NHS with over kind of the short and long-term future. And of course, he can't speak on behalf of the whole of the NHS, but I thought it was really interesting that he was talking about some of the text analytics that we could do. So the feedback that, say, GP surgeries get from patients on performance and how long you've waited and how easy it is to get through to them, to book an appointment. There's a lot of patient feedback coming in nowadays, and a lot of this is unstructured text data. And I think he's right. There's a lot that we can do to help better understand that, to improve the experience. Booking GP appointment, I'm sure a lot of people agree, has been harder during COVID times. And again, now a lot of people don't know whether are we getting back to face-to-face, are we still doing virtual? There's kind of this disjointness about it in a way. So understanding that the structure of that text data, I think, would be really good.
Definitely. When I attended the meeting, like everyone's is for me, they are first be like, they are speaking for the very first time in front of me, and that was really great experience for me as well. And definitely he explains a lot, and it's just our technical views. And I feel like there's a lot of things we can do. We don't even know, like a lot of people, they don't know what they can do with our, and especially when they are helping with the medical field. So it's a really nice thought, and it's really nice organization where he's providing everything.
Yeah, I think R in the medical field is definitely growing. I've seen years ago when I attended EARL, people talking about how they've used one example that springs to mind is how people have used R within cancer hospitals to try and help understand the medical notes and almost detect early signs of cancer from what doctors are writing. And just seeing how R is being used in healthcare, it benefits everybody. And that's why I love seeing talks like this, or talks that everybody can relate to and understand and benefit from.
Definitely, like it's like, for example, right now everyone's like running for Python because people are going for Python, and they feel like it's a bit easy, but I feel like our environment is more reliable, and you can do a lot of stuff over there in compared to any other environment. Like even though Python is changing, I'm not saying Python is a bad environment or anything. Like I usually work on Python as well, but the thing, I worked on both, and I feel like for some areas R is like more enhanced and it work in a more appropriate way.
Absolutely. I'll tell you the other talk I thought kind of related to a lot of people there. This was looking at the analysis that they did to try and help Hong Kong district councillors and trying to analyse some of the data that sits behind councils in Hong Kong. I think they've developed a package for it as well. During COVID, I've done a lot of work trying to not a lot of data analysis work, but I've taken a keener interest in councils in the UK. Okay, my council, what are they doing? Because you're sitting at home, you're in lockdown. It's just like, what else is there to do? I know, I'll sit there and watch the council meeting online, live stream. It's carnage. It's just people arguing with each other, basically, but it is quite fun to watch. And so somebody putting together this system to try and help access information, to try and help councils access information in order to aid their decision making, is something that I can see being very useful for any council in any country, particularly in the UK. I mean, we seem to have over here a problem of accessing really good, useful, solid data. So this is a really good way of doing it, and accessing better information, having that at the fingertips of councillors is very, very useful. So I did ask how easy it would be to extend. Obviously, each country and each market have their own nuances. It's every data set is going to be different. So it's going to be, whilst the code sits there, extending this to say the UK or the US or anywhere else is going to be hard. But I thought it was really good. And it just shows that it is possible to do that kind of thing and to try and help councillors access better data to make decisions.
Definitely, and he have a really great idea, the collaboration of the DevOps and the like, you know, all the package like Crane package or Shiny app. That idea makes me wondering, like, you know, if it's something he can do something like that, that would be really great opportunity for in future in our people.
And it's just worth saying this talk was given by 3 people, so I've just brought up one profile to give you an idea of what the talk was about, but obviously there's 3 of them that were doing that. But to talk a little bit more, talking about the way that data science is used and operated at a company like the Bank of England is quite impressive, because you think of, he's got this title here that we're not startups, and you think of R and open source, it's kind of the modern world of analysis. And from my experience, particularly well-established organizations with lots of different teams, departments, rules and regulations, it's often difficult to be able to embed R within an environment like that, because everybody's set in their own ways, and you tell somebody it's open source, and particularly your kind of IT departments and security and anything else like that will start saying, oh, it's open source, anybody can get access to it, we can't use that. And I've had that when I've worked for companies that aren't banks and that aren't people that are dealing with highly sensitive data, and it's really difficult to embed R. So the fact they've managed to do it somewhere like the Bank of England, and deliver data science projects, and obviously get these internal communities as well where they're championing the use of data science and the use of R is brilliant. But also to be able to do this automation. One thing I've always loved is the use of R in automation, taking data out of spreadsheets, doing things once, doing them well, and then being able to repeat that quite easily, I think is a really big thing.
Definitely, like as I said, when I heard one Bank of Scotland speaking notes when I was in Aberdeen, but Bank of England, the way he explained the, you know, all the process, he have a very systematic work. You don't have to look back what you have done. So it's just once you have done that work, you don't have to go back.
I'm going to kind of bring it round to the end of the day. These last 2 talks here, obviously the final keynote. Before I talk about that, this one I just absolutely loved. Emily spoke about this concept of R packages are members of your team. So, you know, you haven't just got people that are doing the work, but it's packages that are doing that work as well. And I think this, sorry?
I couldn't agree more.
I mean, packages are such an important part of R. When I first started learning R, there weren't many of them out there. This was 2005. It was a long time ago. But the fact that you can now, there's literally a package for everything. And by using a package and being able to undertake repeatable analysis, it means that whatever you do now, you can do it again in the future and in the future and in the future. So that package is very useful to being able to run your daily operations. And I'm sure it got to a slightly humorous stage where someone was saying, yeah, that's Steve over there with his hexagons sitting in the corner, Mr. Package. But packages are a really important part of R. And actually, when you think about what they enable you to do and how they enable you to work, whether it's analysis, building a model, being able to visualize data in a meaningful way, each one of those packages is a major part of what you're delivering. So they are, as funny as it might seem to think of packages as your teammates, it is actually quite an important concept to get around. I think the final one that I want to talk about is the last keynote, and I'll scroll down to it here, but it was a really great way to end the conference, and I'm sad I only managed to watch about 60% of it live because I had calls and various other things coming in. So I need to watch a lot of it on catch up. I haven't had time yet to do that, but I thought this one was really good. So Jacqueline was talking a little bit. Part of her talk was about customer lifetime value models, and she was talking about how a lot of companies kind of make them a little bit overly complex. Now, when you think about customer lifetime value, there's a lot that probably goes into that. This is how a customer has behaved with you over their entire life cycle since signing up or making their first purchase, whatever kind of business you are, since day one of them doing something, interacting with your business until today. And so people start trying to really make the model complex. They start to think about how long have they been a customer for, how much have they spent, how recently have they spent, how many products have they bought, who are they, where do they live, do they live in a rich place, do they live in a poor place, and you can start coming up with all these ideas and variables to build this really complex model. And she was saying that sometimes people do that a little bit too much, that they start to overthink this problem of customer lifetime value. And it's true. And in many cases, just looking at past spend, so what has that customer spent, I don't know, in the past month, 2 months, year, looking at that actually gives you a much better idea of how valuable a customer is. And going back to some of the experience I've had this year, where you're talking to people and they say, look, here's 100 different variables, 100 different pieces of information we've got on our customers. Just build a lifetime value model. And I think it's a bit of when they last logged into the internet portal, to how much they've spent, to how long they've been a customer for, to how old they are. And there's all these variables that go into it. And actually, once you put all of that in, it becomes so noisy that if you just look at what they've spent in the past, it probably gives you a fairly good idea. Some of the predictive models I built this year, if you look at when you do random forest modeling, you can get this feature importance that will be assigned to each of the variables that you put in. Thinking about one of the models I built recently, if you looked at, say, the top 10 most important features, what they spent within the past, I think 1 to 3 months was really important, whereas anything they spent more than 3 months ago was right down there at the bottom. And again, things like obviously age and location were important as well, but that past spend was a massive feature, a massive variable within that model. So it's completely right. Don't overcomplicate your models, because sometimes simplicity without a massive model that sits behind it does work better. Was there anything I haven't mentioned that you thought was really good?
The one I told you about, the Aditi, I guess, she spoke about the air pollution. As I mentioned you before, that this was my final year project, so that was really nice to hear from her.
Yeah, and obviously that's a massive topic now. I think listening to a talk on air pollution is definitely one I've got to catch up on. It's such a big topic and such an important topic, again, that everybody, going back to the beginning when we were talking about the NHS, everybody can relate to that. It was incredible finding out the NHS was the 5th biggest employer globally as well. That was, when you think about other companies that exist around the globe, and obviously I found it ironic that McDonald's were 4th and the NHS were 5th. I think that's a wrap then. I mean, I think we've done this year's conference to death. We've given it a good review. Obviously, I always love going to EARL. I've been every single year since 2014, not making me feel old at all now. But to have gone to every single one of them, to have presented there a few times. I wish I could have done it this year, but I was just far too busy to even think about submitting abstracts. I hope next year it's going to be in person. The in-person conferences.
I would love to go in person, because this is my first virtual conference, and I love this one. So next year I'm hoping, finger crossed, no COVID, nothing, so we can go and personally meet everyone.
It makes a big difference, and it's not just, conferences are not just about the talks, it's about the networking afterwards. It's about standing at the bar and talking to
Yeah.
some random person who you probably wouldn't talk to in any other place in the world, or in, but certainly in the UK anyway. You wouldn't talk to this person at any other time, and you just have a random conversation because you both share a view about business or about mathematics or coding, and it gives you an idea to then take back to the workplace and try the next day. And that's where I've got some of my best ideas from going to EARL and from random conversations at the bar, often after a few too many beers, but it always makes sense at the time. But it's great. So I'm hoping we can meet in person, and I'm hoping that people have found it useful to understand what went on and watch the repeat of the conference online, because there were some fantastic talks, some really meaningful ideas spoken about and shared.
For example, people like me, I didn't know about the All Present conference ever. You are the one who told me. So whoever watching this video, I would definitely say go and have a look for that conference, have a look for those videos. And if you get the chance, please attend for the next time.
Yeah, and we're not on commission. We should say that as well. But Mango are very nice people.
Sure. No, I'm
Very
not.
great.
The only benefit is they're gonna get it. I won't get any benefits if they're gonna watch it.
There we go. I think we've wrapped that one up then. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.